Video's live.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular board meeting of January 26, 2022. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge that we are holding these meetings on the traditional territories of Coast Salish peoples. And with that, I look for an approval of the agenda. There could be something that was added, Ms. Legault.
An item of closed session new business under Community Charter Section 91I, legal advice.
Okay, there is that to add. Director Acton?
Is that the item that we received an email about this morning?
Correct, yes. Okay.
So I don't need to
request
anything else. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's what you were looking for. Okay, with that, go ahead, Director Nicholson. You have an addition.
I have an addition for closed, if that's okay. I just need to add a name to my APC list.
Okay. Okay, with those two additions, I turn to committee for approval. Been moved. Second. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Turn now to number 2, Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Number 2 is adoption of the regular board meeting minutes of January 12th, 2022.
Been moved. Our seconder. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. We do not have any business arising. Turn to the delegation, Ms. Legault. Or is there any public input? Sorry, my apologies.
There are no participants for public input period, so I've just moved the delegation into the meeting. This is Kim Stevens, representing the Partnership for Water Sustainability in British Columbia, with presentation of certificates of recognition.
Awesome. Welcome, Mr. Stevens. Do you have a PowerPoint for us?
I do indeed. And first, let me say thank you for this opportunity to meet with you virtually. And I'm speaking to you from Bowen Island on the traditional territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Sechelt First Nations. And so now the moment of truth when I do this switchover, right?
Yeah, there we go.
You can see it. Good.
Not yet. Yes, we can see it. Very good. Yes.
Good. Well, you know, this statement of commitment really sets the context for my presentation because, you know, it underscores the importance of oral history and what we can learn from First Nations. And so by pulling threads of understanding from the past through to the present and future, it would help us or help communities achieve the vision for reconnecting people, fish, land, and water in altered landscapes. So stop moving. This would have to happen, wouldn't it? Page down. Is it moving? Nope.
No, it's not.
Okay. It worked in the rehearsal, didn't it?
It came on the screen, yes. Oh, there you
go.
Oh,
there we go. Yeah. There we go. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay. So I'm here today for 2 reasons. And you know, the first is to honor both the CBRD and Kate Miller with Living Water Smart certificates of recognition. And secondly, to provide an update on the Watershed Moment series, Creating a Climate for Change. And I have 3 takeaway messages for you to keep in mind over the next 10 minutes. One is that the partnership appreciates the CBRD. And 2, it is all about the network, as I will elaborate. And then 3, the Blue Ecology Symposium, which I spoke to you about back in June, is a work in progress. So the first time that I met with the regional board was in 2007 rather, when we invited CVRD to play a leadership role under the umbrella of the Water Sustainability Action Plan. So in the years since, I have updated the board numerous times, and our collaboration now spans over 15 years. So that's quite a long time. And I think Chair Lori, yes, I think you were there probably about 2008, right? So you've heard most of those presentations. But to refresh memories, I will take a minute to unpack what is on this very busy slide. And so the action plan is nested within Living Water Smart, BC's water plan. The partnership is the hub for the Living Water Smart network. And beginning in 2012, the five regional boards have passed resolutions of support for interregional collaboration through the Georgia Basin Interregional Education Initiative. And the five are Cowichan, of course, Capital, Nanaimo, Comox Valley, and Metro Vancouver. So in a nutshell, the partnership mission is peer-based education. So we develop tools and resources to support the work of our partners. We develop talent. And by that I mean we mentor, we showcase, we celebrate good work through our Water Bucket e-news newsletter. And at the end of the day, why are we doing this? Well, we want to focus all of the players on desired outcomes. So a really long story short, for those who have not heard all those presentations over 15 years, the partnership morphed from an intergovernmental committee into a legal entity in 2010. And so the partnership is the hub for a network. And our focus has always been on growing the network, not building an organization. And last year we wondered, how unique are we? And so we did our research and we connected with Dr. Jane Way Scalern at the University of California at Berkeley. Now, Dr. Jane has studied nonprofit groups to understand what makes collaboration such a powerful force. And as you all know, local governments are also nonprofits, although sometimes people don't realize that. And Dr. Jane, she's identified these four, well, she calls them counterintuitive principles, but we believe they're obvious, right? Which is focus on the mission before organization, manage through trust, not control, promote others, not ourselves, build constellations, not stars. And that's what we're building. We're building a constellation. Now, here's Dr. Jane's quotable quote. You know, that the network emerges around a common goal rather than a particular program or organizational model, and the community mobilizes the resources from throughout the network and based on existing relationships in the community. In our case, the common goal is Living Water Smart, and it is the 45 actions and targets in Living Water Smart that provide us with a framework for aligning actions at the provincial, regional, and local scales. So now, we have the virtual moment. Presto. Imagine everyone, I just handed Chair Laurie the framed certificate of recognition because I can't be with you, right? And now for the second virtual moment. I've just handed Kate Miller her framed certificate. And as it says here, the Champion Supporter Recognition celebrates the leadership of successive CVRD boards since 2007, while the Ambassador Recognition celebrates the commitment of staff, led by Kate, in bringing a special value to the partnership mission for building bridges of understanding through what we call intergenerational collaboration. So to reiterate, when we pull threads of understanding from the past through to the present and future, this helps everyone achieve a shared vision for Living Water Smart in British Columbia. My final takeaway message is that the Blue Ecology Symposium is a work in progress. So in August, the former chair sent a letter of invitation on behalf of the Cowichan Valley Regional District, as well as the partnership, to each of the First Nations in the region to be part of a larger partnership and exploration process for co-creating, and I underscore that word co-creating, the Blue Ecology Symposium. And last Thursday actually, we had a bridging event, and we called it the Blue Ecology Seminar, Creating a Climate for Change. And we had three objectives. One was to introduce the idea of blue ecology to a YouTube audience as a way of interweaving Indigenous and Western ways of knowing. And two was to showcase watershed education initiatives for school children in three regions, the Cowichan, Nanaimo, and Comox Valley regions. And the third objective was to, the seminar last week served as the launch event for Michael Blackstock's Blue Ecology Institute. So this is our key message, which is blue ecology is the pathway to reach water reconciliation. And I'll just let you mull that over the significance of focusing on the two words, water reconciliation, because as we all know, we can have conversations around the water cooler. Well, we could have conversations around the water cooler, but water allows us to have the conversation. So that's an important part of what we're trying to say in terms of interweaving and blue ecology and water reconciliation. But there's still a lot of work to be done to build trust and relationships. And so we're not driven by an arbitrary timeline. That's what we said last June. And our mantra is and continues to be, it's more important to get it right than to get it done. So in closing, I want to leave you with this Michael Blackstock quotable quote, since he's kind of holding the flag, leading the charge in terms of blue ecology. The climate crisis requires us, the source of this crisis, to transcend and transform, to begin to lay a foundation for our children's children to have something to work with, a starting point, and some options to grasp in the urgent moment. We owe it to future generations as a form of apology. We owe them hope. This concludes my presentation.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Stevens. I also, first of all, and most importantly, like to, if you could put your screen down, we'd like to acknowledge with a virtual hand clapping to our staff. Kate Miller, you'd like to come on? And congratulations. And where are you? Are you on the screen or I can see you? Oh, there you're right in the middle, in mine. Anyway, congratulations, Kate. And we always celebrate your accomplishments on all the different, and I have been here since 2008 and seen a lot of success, and you've been part of that. And so thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I really want to underpin that I work for the organization, and my work that I do is on behalf of the organization. So it's not a personal piece, but it's the leadership of the organization itself and how that manifests itself. And Leslie, I'm encouraged by Kim's words, and I hope that we can find a way to keep you up to date and connected to the blue ecology work in the 2022 period. So it's very exciting to see Michael's work with us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I do want to acknowledge Mr. Stevens on all his digital platforms that he's very good at, sending out information in a way that is quite fun. And the latest one, I don't know if you can speak to it, but I have 8 grandchildren and I am constantly buying them books. And the latest one that I saw was The Little Creek That Could, which reminded me, and Kate Miller and a lot of the board members would know, the Busy Place Creek as well would be great to have a book on that. But could you just share a little bit of that book?
Sure. Well, the book is written by Mark Angelo, and I'm sure most of you know Mark Angelo's name as the founder of BC Rivers Day and World Rivers Day. And it's I guess the way Mark explained it to me was it was a story that he would read to his grandchildren, and during COVID, of course, we got more time to do things, right? So he decided to write the book. But really, it's really the story in a children's book format of his last 50 years. Because when he came to British Columbia to teach at BCIT, at the very beginning of the Fish and Wildlife Program, and as he said to me, 50 years ago, nobody thought we could restore damaged creeks. And the aha moment for Mark was when he, like on his first day of being at BCIT, and he walked down and looked at this degraded creek and said, wow, there's no hope. And then came back the next day, and there was this 80-year-old gentleman. And the way Mark explains the story, that 80-year-old gentleman who told Mark the stories of how the creek once was, that individual passed on the oral history, and that inspired Mark. I think he was ready to be inspired, right? But what it does underscore is that things don't happen overnight. It takes a career, it takes commitment, it takes passion. And over those 50 years, they have restored Gishon Creek, which flows through BCIT's campus. And I guess the next stage is the daylighting of an enclosed portion. So it's an incredible story about an incredible man who's very much an icon in British Columbia.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing that. Are there any other questions? Go ahead. Director Wilson, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And Kim, thank you very much for that as well. Hang on, I've just pressed the wrong button here. Let me press that one and it still won't disappear. Let's just get rid of this, sorry. Yeah, thank you very much for that, Kim. That's great. I wonder if you could just bring up the final slide that you put up there, because there's some very important words there that I'd like to stress if I could. And while you're doing that, there it is there. Thank you very much. To transcend, to begin to lay a foundation. We owe it to future generations as a form of apology. We owe them hope. This is a very telling one, because in order for that to happen, as you've pointed out, we have to begin now, and well, we should have begun a long time ago. But one of the good things about this whole presentation is that it talks about water, not just about streams, but about the whole ecosystem of aquifers and everything else. And to me, as people know, aquifer protection is a matter not only for the preservation that you're talking about of the environment, but is one of equal importance is the health and safety of all the residents who rely on the protection of this life-sustaining resource. And I know that Ms. Miller has been very, very instrumental on that. And it's something which we need to treat as a matter of urgency. We don't need delays when we're asking questions. And I thank you very much for bringing this forward. And hopefully this will drive the will of this board and others to protect the resources. Without it, we ain't going to go anywhere. Thank you very much for everything that you've done there.
Thank you.
So much. Go ahead, Director Smith.
Thank you. It's really good to see you today, Kim. You and I go back quite a while, and you've always been supportive of me as I've trundled along and learned a lot. And having you out there for us has really made a difference. I know the staff being connected with the staff has also moved our area along, and I'm really pleased to be part of the Cowichan Valley Regional District and the staff that we have, but also the partnership with you personally for myself has been very beneficial. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. And on that note, we can give you our virtual clap of appreciation for sharing your information today and honoring Kate Miller. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We move on now, Ms. Legault.
Thank you,
Oh, a
Madam
report from the chairperson. Sorry. Can I go ahead? So I just noticed that I didn't actually give you the heads up on that. We had just heard, we have one of our directors that has given me some information just before the meeting started on something to do in Chemainus. So I'm going to allow Director Marsh just to share a brief moment of information on something special that's happening in Chemainus. Go ahead, Director Marsh.
Thank you, Chair. The little creek that could reminds me of the little town that did, which is what Chemainus is called. And the presentation just reminded me of the Margaret Mead quote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that can." And so I just want to let people know that 40 years ago, when mills were downsizing because they were up-teching, Chemainus became a tourist mecca, thanks to then Mayor Graham Bruce and Carl Schultz and many other people. So tonight on the CBC Still Standing, they're doing a series on television. Maynard Johnny Jr. is today unveiling a new piece of Coast Salish art in Chemainus, and everyone in the community and all of you can watch it tonight at 8 o'clock on the CBC TV, or if you're part of CBC Gem, which is a streaming service. So thank you.
Great, thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that. And so we will now move on, Ms. Legault, to committee and commission reports. Thank
you, Madam Chair. Item CR1 is the report and recommendations of the Committee of the Whole meeting of January 12th.
Okay, I turn to committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As Chair of the Committee of the Whole, your committee met on January 12th and reports the following. 2 recommendations that the following resolution be approved and submitted to ABICC for consideration at the 2022 convention as follows. On managed forest land valuation, whereas the 2022 assessment roll marks the third year that the land value component of the formula for valuation of managed forest land has been frozen, and whereas the valuation formula for managed forest land remains under review by BC Assessment, the province, and industry, therefore be it resolved that BC Assessment and the province conclude the Class 7 valuation formula review and implement an understandable, fair and transparent formula. And the second resolution, that the following resolution also be approved and submitted to ABICC for consideration at the 2022 convention as follows. Speculation and vacancy tax review, whereas housing availability and affordability impacts the health, social, and economic well-being of communities, and whereas the provincial speculation and vacancy tax generates revenues to support affordable housing initiatives in the areas where the tax is collected, but is currently only applicable in larger urban centres. Therefore, be it resolved that the province consult with local governments on an evaluation of the speculation and vacancy tax, including a review of the specified areas and the impact on areas adjacent to the designated taxable regions. And I'll move those recommendations. Oh, and the third, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
The staff report and memorandum of understanding for the Nanaimo Cowichan Express be referred to staff to review, for review of the provisions related to pickup and drop-off. Those are the three recommendations, and I'll move them.
That's been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Moving on to CR2, Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Report and recommendations of the Special Cowichan Community Centre Commission meeting of January 18th.
Madam Chair, since I'm the new chair of that commission,
Yes.
do you want me to report on that one?
Yes, I was just going to say that, yes.
Good. The commission met on January 10th and recommends as follows: that a 3-year license of agreement with Duncan Dynamics Gymnastics Club effective April 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2025 be approved.
Been moved. Second. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. CR3, Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Madam Chair. CR3 is the report and recommendations of the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of January 19th.
Go ahead, Director Salmon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is the report from the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting January 19th. In the first section, there are 8 recommendations. I would like to move those, please.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions? Seeing none. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Go ahead.
And then in the second section, there are 2 more recommendations for electoral area directors only. I'd like to move those, please.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. CR4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. CR4 is the report and recommendations of the Committee of the Whole meeting of January 26th. So one item from this morning's meeting.
Go ahead, Director Sebring.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Your Committee of the Whole met earlier today and recommends as follows: that a grant application in the amount of $115,000 be submitted to the Union of BC Municipalities Community Emergency Preparedness Fund initiative for the purchase of emergency support services, generators, and supplies to support multiple reception center sites. Also move.
Second. We've had a lot of discussion on this. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you. Turn now to staff reports, Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item SR1, staff report from Legislative Services Division regarding the Parcel Tax Roll Review Panel meeting date, and the proposed recommendation is that the Parcel Tax Roll Review Panel sitting be scheduled for Wednesday, February 16th, 2022 at 12:30 p.m. to be held virtually via the CVRD Ingram Street office.
For a mover? Seconder? Been moved and seconded? I didn't see a seconder. Okay, now I did. Okay, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. SR2, Ms. Legault.
Thank you. This is another staff report from the Legislative Services Division regarding a revised 2022 meeting schedule, and the proposed recommendation is that the revised 2022 meeting schedule be approved.
See a mover. There's a mover and a seconder. Is there some discussion? Director Acton?
Yeah, I know that it's only talking about a couple meetings, but I'd like to know why we're not considering our electoral area services meetings to start earlier. We've been putting meetings on Thursdays if we run out of time, but I think it would make more sense for some of those really large agendas that we just start at 9:30 and aim to be done for lunch, unless it's a heavy agenda. It's a real challenge to have these kind of one-offs on Thursdays, and it just wasn't something that was really brought to our attention when we decided to take this position on. So I would prefer that we have a discussion about having electoral area services start earlier. And could we have that discussion here today?
That wasn't something that was brought up at all before. I have Director Salmon, do you want to speak to that directly?
Yeah, just briefly, but actually prefer myself to keep it at the 1:30, partly as I planned other things, including a treaty commission meetings are there in the mornings on that Wednesday, the fourth Wednesday in any case.
Yeah, I think that we've didn't come up in the earlier discussions before we actually mandated the calendar. So I turn to Director Smith.
Thank you. I just wanted to make note that the LGLA was moved to the 6th of April, which is, or it includes the 6th of April, which is an Electoral Area Service Committee meeting day. And I'm just not sure if the EASC should be held that day because of that. I think that in February it was changed because of LGLA. And now I'm just wondering if we should have that meeting also looked at.
Ms. Legault, is that another meeting that we had established as April 6th for electoral area services?
Yes, that is the date that the forum was pushed forward through till April. I'm not sure how many electoral area directors were actually planning on attending, given the change in the dates. However, if that's the will of the board, that certainly can be canceled, or we can wait till closer to the date when we're sure who is actually registered for the event.
Okay, do we want to wait for closer to the event? I think that's what we'll do for the April 6th. And now we have on the floor these other two meetings, and there doesn't seem to be an appetite for your 9:30 discussion, Director Acton. I think that people have planned their year now because it was a while ago on that 1:30. Okay, so this recommendation for the meeting schedule, did it get moved and seconded? Okay, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you. SR3.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item SR3 is a staff report from Land Use Services regarding the Regional District of Nanaimo Regional Growth Strategy Amendment Referral 2021, Amendment Bylaw 1615.05, and the proposed recommendation is that the Regional District of Nanaimo be advised that the CVRD accepts Regional Growth Strategy Amendment Bylaw number 1615.05 related to the property south of Nanaimo River on the Trans-Canada Highway.
Okay, Director Stone, are you moving that? Okay, and then Director Sebring, you were seconding. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Go ahead, Director Martman. And I see Ms. Breen is on the screen for any questions.
Actually, that's just perfect because I wanted to first thank her for the report and also just ask her a question again around the aquifers, because for some reason, if I look at the maps, and maybe she can confirm this, that it looks like this piece of property avoids all aquifers. Or some, it just happened to be. Is that correct, or am I missing something?
Ms. Breen.
Thank you to the director and through the chair. If what the consultant's report suggests is that although it looks like the property is either surrounded by 161 Cassidy, or it's slightly north, 165 is slightly north, and 984 is south, the report is suggesting that the property is actually, in their mind, on top of 165, and at least the bedrock is. So the report's also suggesting there's no impacts, but the consultants do feel that it is lying on top of one of those aquifers. Thank you.
Follow up, Director Martman.
Yes, thank you. And I guess that's to the point often, I think when it came up before was, confirming, is there an interest in the CVRD and particularly about the sharing of aquifers? And I can't see that happening in this report. So I'm okay with this motion.
Great. Okay, thank you. Not seeing any other hands, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Thank you so much. SR4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a report from Corporate Services regarding the Cowichan Housing Association Bridge funding request. And the proposed recommendation is that the Cowichan Housing Association's request for the one-time use of Cowichan Housing Fund to provide bridge financing of $500,000 to support the It Takes a Village housing the unsheltered population of the Cowichan Valley project be approved.
It's been moved. Are you moving it, Director Wilson?
Yes, Chair, I am. And if possible, I'd like to make a brief statement on it as well.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I've spent the last couple of days speaking with Shelley Cook, who's the president of the CHA, just to get clarification on this. And she's explained to me what's going on here very, very well, which has clarified a lot of things. So I have no problems in supporting this one at all.
Okay, Director Smith.
Thank you. I'm not sure if someone can answer this question. Looking at the total budget for the project is over $2 million. The question then becomes, what about the cost overruns? We are finding that bids are coming in higher, and I just was wondering if the bids are coming in higher, will CHA be able to cover this with the return of the $500,000?
Now I see Mr. Boyson came on screen. Would you like to speak to that?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. To the director, I'd say that we're not sure. All the projects are having these types of impacts. It's a fair comment and a fair concern. Our agreement, this would actually involve us signing an agreement, and we would limit it to the $500,000. So we're not going to have any flexibility on that unless if there was some additional request or ask, we would come back to the board to discuss it. But at this point, the agreement is just to limit it to the $500,000 to give them that flexibility.
Are there any other questions? Follow up, Director Smith. Go ahead, please.
So the document that will be signed will ensure that the $500,000 comes back to the CVRD.
That's correct. That's correct.
Whether there's overruns or not. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Correct.
Okay. Thank
you. Okay, I turn to the committee. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Thank you so much. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On to bylaws for electoral area directors only. BEA 1, CVRD bylaw 4397, electoral area B, Shawnigan Lake zoning amendment bylaw for 1770 Shawnigan Mill Bay Road, 2021 for adoption.
Moved. Second. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just checking. There are no participants for question period, so it would be a motion to close the meeting to the public in accordance with Community Charter Section 90A or 91A, C, and I.
Okay. Moved. Second. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. We have another link for this, so we go out of this, and I think we might as well take 10 minutes now. Take 10.